Stop being on a diet. Start learning how to eat. Because food was never meant to control you. It was meant to fuel you.
Welcome to the Nicole Curcio podcast, the show for women who want it all. Faith at the center, a strong and feminine body, deep family connections, and true freedom in their lives. I'm Nicole Curcio, a former medical insider turned fat loss and physique coach. I help high-performing women transform from the inside out, physically, mentally, and spiritually, without starving, obsessing, or burning out. Around here, we train with intention, eat with purpose, and build a life that reflects the woman you were created to be. Let's get into it.
Let's talk about something that doesn't get enough attention in the health world. Your psychology around food. Because here's the truth. Your mindset around eating is just as important as your calories and your macros. You can have the perfect calorie target, the perfect protein number. But if your brain still thinks like it's on a diet, you're going to keep sabotaging yourself. Think about it. The very word diet signals something that you go on and then you go off. And if you've lived your whole life thinking in terms of diets, your brain has been trained to see food choices as temporary restrictions, not permanent solutions. That's why so many women can crush a 30-day challenge or an 8-week shred, but as soon as it's over, old habits, they'll slide right back in because your brain is still wired for temporary mode. That's exactly what we're going to talk about here. You don't just need new numbers to follow, you need a new mindset to live by. Instead of asking, what am I allowed to eat? Or what's off limits? We need to flip the script. Food isn't punishment. It's not something that you have to earn. Food is fuel. And when you start approaching meals from that lens, what's going to fuel my energy? What's going to fuel my workouts? What's going to nourish my body? Suddenly eating doesn't feel like it's about restriction anymore. It feels more of empowerment. And that one small shift in language changes everything. Because here's the thing. The words you use shape the way that you think. If every time you sit down to eat, you're thinking in terms of what you can't have, you'll always feel deprived. And deprivation always leads to rebellion. But when you begin to think of food as fuel, your choices stop being about good versus bad, and they start being about what helps me feel my best. Do you see that difference? But let me take it a step further. There is another powerful mental shift that we need to take into account. Moving from I have to eat this to I get to eat this. Think about how different that feels. I have to eat chicken and rice feels like a chore. But I get to eat protein that builds my muscle and food that energizes me. That feels like a privilege. One comes from resentment and the other comes from gratitude. And gratitude is what will keep you consistent long after the motivation wears off. And when you make that shift, fuel over restriction, privilege over punishment, food stops being the enemy and it starts being one of your greatest tools that you have for becoming who you're called to be. But let's get real for a minute. So many women live in this cycle, restrict, restrict, restrict. They hold on with white knuckles until you finally break down, you binge, and then you wake up the next morning drowning in guilt. And what do you do with that guilt? You punish yourself even more with more restriction. Less food, more cardio, harsher rules, stricter boundaries. But here's the truth. It's not a food problem. It's a shame cycle that you're stuck in. And shame doesn't break that cycle. Adding on more shame isn't going to break that cycle. It's what's going to keep fueling it. And if you've ever felt like you blew it on Friday night, so you might as well write off the whole weekend, that's not a strategy talking. That's shame. That's a shame cycle. Shame whispers, you failed. You'll never get this right. You may as well give up. And every time you listen, that cycle gets stronger. Restrict, break, binge, guilt, repeat. But what breaks that cycle? It isn't more punishment. It's shifting the story you're telling yourself. Because food isn't the enemy. Your body isn't the enemy. And you are not the enemy. When you step out of this shame and into an actual strategy, you start to realize something. One meal doesn't erase all of your progress. Fueling your body is an act of self-respect. not punishment. You don't need to start over on Monday. You just need to keep going. This is why language matters. When you say, I blew it, you've already declared yourself as defeated. But when you say, I had one meal that was off plan and now I'm fueling my body again, that's ownership. That's empowerment. And that's how you actually start to break the cycle. But here's another trap. Thinking of yourself as good when you eat chicken and broccoli and bad when you have pizza. Let me set you free here. You are not the food that you eat. You hear the term, you are what you eat, right? But food has no moral value. A slice of cake doesn't make you a bad person, and a salad doesn't make you righteous. The second you stop labeling food as good foods and bad foods is the second you stop labeling yourself the same way. And that's where freedom starts. This is why when I build my clients' meal plans, I always include foods that they genuinely enjoy. You want homemade pizza every Friday night? Great, let's do it. You want chocolate or a creamy dessert every evening? Sounds like a plan. Because if we try to fight the natural cravings and desires, that's the very thing that leads to binging. If your plan feels like a prison, you won't stay in it. I had a client who really brought this to life for me. When I'm adjusting my clients' meal plans, I send my clients a feedback form. How are you liking the plan? Are you having any cravings? Anything you want changed? So on and so forth. And she wrote to me that she was craving chocolate. So I put it in her plan. But then she would ask me to take it back out because she didn't want a bad food in her meal plan. She told me, I just want to be more disciplined. No chocolate. I'm stronger than my cravings. And I love that mentality, but the truth was she was already incredibly disciplined until she wasn't. And then she'd come back to me saying, I caved. I had quite a few pieces of chocolate this one night, blah, blah, blah. And here's the thing. Her issue wasn't the chocolate. It was the story she was telling herself about the chocolate. I explained to her that it actually takes a lot more discipline to enjoy one piece and stop there than it does to try to white knuckle your way through and completely avoid it. Because anyone can resist for a while. But real strength is in learning moderation, not complete restriction. And when you stop seeing food as good foods and bad foods, you stop seeing yourself as good or bad based on what you eat. That's where true freedom begins. So if you've been stuck in the diet mindset, I want you to hear me. Stop being on a diet. Start learning how to eat. Because food was never meant to control you. It was meant to fuel you. And once you learn how to build a lifestyle instead of a diet, everything changes. Not just your body, but your mind.
Strong, sexy, and unapologetically confident. That's the goal. Now go lift heavy, eat like you mean it, and act like the woman you're becoming. Talk soon.